Welcome to Mike's apartment. Tonight we will be talking about Stella Artois. There's a lot of opinions and comments, and it's a pretty popular beer. Um, with me tonight is as usual, my co-host Thom. How's it
Hello,
going, Thom?
everybody. It's gone good. I've never had this before, so I'm looking forward to trying it out and seeing what happens. And
Well, I will not be a liar. I've had it a bunch. But I will still be giving it whatever. I believe with this, I don't think it's a twist. I think you do need the bottle up, unless you had some special.
do we have to like
I have
rip this
always.
off or
You don't have to rip it off. I am
okay,
just gonna.
I'll try to just use the bottle opener on it then and
Yeah, I believe.
oh, it comes off with the bottle top. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. So are we doing the sniff? We're doing the taste test first, right?
yeah. Let's do the first impression. We could do a little smell
All
if
right.
we want, but I don't think. I don't think it.
Yeah,
It was a.
no, it's kind of like that Blue Moon Ale that we tried that wasn't very strong.
No, not as a
But
smell, anyways. But all right, bottles up. Or
cheers.
cheers. Um,
Mm,
as usual, I would say it's good. That's kind of
yeah.
the bad thing about some of these things is when you have tasted it before. I don't get an initial
Yeah, well,
opinion.
for me, I I think I like it more than I did the Qingtao.
Okay, okay.
So, which, if I remember, that's the only other beer we've tried because I think I have in my fridge. I still have the Blue Moon and the Qingtao, which I might just give it to my gift to my ex-father-in-law, who I think still drinks beer. But yeah, no, I think drinkability. I think it's a lot higher on my list. Uh, when I stopped at the liquor store to pick it up, I asked the guy about. He said, "Yeah, I've had it. It's not really my thing, but or taste or whatever he said." But
They are a little pricey. Like they are not. I think I got a 12 pack bottles, and it was something like about $20. Um,
I don't know what I spent on. I got a six pack.
you got a
I don't
six
know
pack.
what I
Okay.
spent on it because I had bought some other stuff and I didn't ask for the receipt, but
Yeah. No.
because
No worries.
who returns liquor?
I mean, you never know. I mean, as usual, it's always a treat for me.
Hmm.
Why do I like it? You know, are there more domestic beers that taste better or the same? Probably. I just, I don't know.
Well, I think is this still made in Belgium? Because so I was looking it up.
Well, mine says
So
600 years.
600 years.
600 years.
Really?
I mean,
It said it
that's.
was first brewed in 1926
Oh, lies.
by, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the guy's name, but he was in Belgium. And in its original form, it's a 5.2% beer, or 5.2% ABV. Is that, I don't know what ABV means. Let me see if I hover over it.
Alcohol by
Alcohol
volume.
by volume. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I was wondering.
Yeah.
The country standard for Pilsners. The beer is sold in many EU countries, but also in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia, where it has a reduced ABV. And then I was looking at this bottle. So on the site it says it's 5.2%, but this is just 5%. So they say less. It's not a lot. Actually, I guess at that volume, maybe 2.2% is a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I will just say this. Yeah, mine does say for some reason it says 600 years of brewing heritage. So maybe it's not necessarily like in this form it's existed, but the
Yeah,
brewery
but
may have
look,
existed longer
well,
or
or maybe the Pilsner beers,
in
that
general
kind of beer has been around for 600 years, and
or
the Belgians have
yeah,
been
that
brewing it,
tradition,
and
yeah, that tradition
yeah.
of doing it or that
Mhm.
culture of doing it. Oh, definitely. No, I mean, I don't know what it is exactly about Stella's. they always kind of grab me. I mean, I'm not going to give it a, well, we'll talk about the ratings a little bit later. But I would just say immediately, like, I like it. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's, I don't know. It has a tiny bit of a smell. It's not like that strong, but the
No,
taste is
it's
just,
the yeah, it's the strong the smell, like you said, it's not strong. It's similar to that Blue Moon Ale where it was kind of mild.
yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, the Qingtao had a was there a slight burn to that one?
Um,
Uh,
I don't know about a
I'm
burn, but
trying to
it
remember.
definitely had a taste that was different.
I think the smell was stronger.
I think you're talking about the fireball that had a little tiny burn, but
Oh man, okay, yeah.
uh,
That burns like hell, but it didn't.
yeah, that one. Yeah, watch our other video if you want some information on that. What I will just say, yeah, no, I mean I like it. I think it's something. It's nice, something nice to drink. I think it's something like for me as more of a beer drinker. I could drink Stella's all night, and I'd feel pretty good about it. I wouldn't feel overwhelmed, but yet at the same time, I wouldn't feel underwhelmed either. I would say that it just kind of, you know, has a nice taste to it. Tonight, our discussion. It'll be very controversial, everyone.
Yes,
So be
yes.
careful. Be
You
careful.
might become a witch or something like that,
Or
or want
worse,
to sacrifice kids,
you may be burned
babies.
at the stake because of such talk.
Oh
Um,
wait, it's not the 1980s anymore, Mike. It's
that's
2025.
right.
That's history.
The panic is over. We're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. However, the problem is Tom and I, even just together, we've been playing D&D for about 20 years together, and then on top of that and outside of each other, we've probably been playing closer to 25 to 30 years. So,
Yeah, I think I started, well, not D&D, but like role-playing games. I think my first game was Shadowrun.
mhm.
That's a role-playing game, right?
Yep.
I can't remember. It's
It's like
been
a
a long time.
cyberpunk type, yeah.
Maybe that's what it was, Cyberpunk. I can't remember. Anyways, I
Yeah.
started that I think like 97, 98. But
Yeah.
and then eventually migrated to D&D and second edition.
But the thing is this. Um, we'd be on here for hours if we just went back and forth about that. We are going to more specifically talk about the personality, the types of people, at least, you know, in like the 90s and maybe early 2000s that were and or now. I mean, I believe, you know, with 5th edition D&D, I think the game is more it's more welcoming. It's more
Yeah, it's more
it
streamlined.
yeah, there's more
Yeah.
people who can play it. It is more of a normalized thing. It's not just the nerds who get beat up by the jocks or whatever
Yeah,
stereotype.
like
Like,
Stranger Things.
yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's like the thing. It's no longer that, but what we're going to talk about, though, are the personality types. What kind of people, and I actually have, you know, Tom, and I'm going to bounce some of these off of you, but the type of people who initially were attracted to these games and stuck with them. I will say this though, I have a little bit of a story. No names here. When I was in high school, there was this dude about two. He was one grade younger than I was, and he was the stereotypical jock preppy guy. Like he he was, well, number one. I mean, not to be weird about it, but he was a very attractive guy. He could get lots of different girls. I mean, you know, he dated, you know, whoever whatever girls he wanted to. He was playing football, and he was good at it. I mean, he was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he ever would have made it to the college or the, you know, the professional level.
Pros.
But in high
Yeah.
school, though, like on the high school level, he was good at football. And here was the weird thing. He and I, we did FIAD, we did golf. Like we had a little golf thing, and that's how
Okay.
he and I
Yeah.
met. And we started playing. I brought up D&D to him, and I think he had never in his life like ever like even heard of such a creative or inventive type game where he would get to, and he was not a theater person. Like he was not into like the theater
Mhm.
or anything like that. But yet he and I, we became friends, and eventually we were playing D&D over at his house with other friends. And this didn't just start and or last in high school. This went on for, God, I have to say about 10
Wait,
years and into my
are you
like my
talking about Mackay?
no.
No, I'm kidding.
And
I'm
we're not allowed
kidding.
to bring up names. But
I'm kidding.
no, Mackay never
I don't think
played
Mackay
for.
was an athlete, if I recall correctly.
No,
But
no, he's Mackay is
go
not
on,
an
go on.
athlete.
I interrupted. I apologize.
Anyways, that's most of that actually is most of the story. I'm just saying, like, the
He's not the
stereotype.
stereotype.
He didn't fit the stereotype at all. But
Yeah.
like when he learned about like the game and how he could,
Hmm.
get into that, he was immediately addicted. He bought a bunch of.
Hmm.
We played 3.5. However, when
Oh,
I very first
3.5.
started,
Okay.
it was well actually on the bus we played D&D from the D&D Cyclopedia, which technically was first edition, which
Hmm.
was, believe it or not, they didn't have different classes and races, which, they're doing a whole lot with in 5th edition to kind of get rid of some of that stuff. But if you played an elf, a dwarf, or a halfling, that was your class. So you could be a fighter, mage, cleric, um, or thief, but then the other ones were elf, dwarf, halfling, and I think there was mystic and druid, which were like advanced classes and from the D&D Cyclopedia. But actually, at that time, they didn't separate the two. It wasn't until 2nd edition where you could be a
Mm.
class and race. But if you remember, like for classing, there was a difference between multi-classing. Like humans could go into any class, reach level 20, but the demi-humans, as they called them, the elves, whatever, they could,
Dwarves. Yeah.
dwarves, halflings, they could be in the classes, but they were limited in 2nd edition. And then 3rd edition, they still kept the race class thing, but there was no more. The level limits were removed from that at that point. But anyways, yeah, I'm just saying, my main point is,
Mhm.
you could talk about stereotypes, which we are going to do, but there's always going to be that person, that jock who was like, you know,
Mhm.
you know, every person liked whatever. He wasn't necessarily that great at academics, from what I remember. He wasn't that great at that,
Oh no, we're talking about stereotypes.
but
Mhm.
but he
Mhm.
was definitely not the guy that you would think would like go into FIAD, play some golf, meet the nerd, and fall in love with the game. To my knowledge,
Mhm.
I mean, I think he may even still be playing. I haven't talked to him for a few years. He kind of got a family and stuff, and I don't know. We just sort of grew apart, but nothing personal. But we just sort
Mhm.
of, and we actually in our 20s
You-
we had a 5-year campaign where we played the same characters
What, for
and
5 years?
5 years. Yeah. Well, there are several other
Wow.
people that were also in that campaign that
Mhm.
I'll tell you about I'll tell you their names later if you want to hear. But yeah, I believe we called the campaign world Corto, not super.
Oh,
Yeah, no names.
I
You
think,
probably have heard about it.
I think I was involved in that game for a little bit.
Yeah, there
Um,
were several people
mhm.
who we got involved in that game just because of how many people. But yeah, no, we
So
played.
I
It was a
guess
5-year campaign.
so you said your athlete friend
Was
from
one of
high
them.
school was one of them.
He
Okay, so
he
I
was
probably
even a
met him
DM.
then.
He actually was the first. We actually did a rotating dungeon master thing for that
Yeah,
campaign,
because I,
and
I
he was
I
the
think
first DM. He was the first person to DM the game, and then we all took turns after that. But yeah,
well, no, was it that game that I was a DM in where we had an attorney, an actual like real
no,
life attorney in the game who ruined the game, or was that a different game that I'm thinking
that's a
of?
different. I believe that's a different game. But I do know what I do. I am also familiar with. Yeah, for the FFS for fuck's sake
Yeah.
email. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the for
Yeah.
fuck's sake email. And guess what?
Okay,
We're
so
this is the
well,
adult version of YouTube, so feel free to swear.
yeah, well, no, I found out like so apparently well we can talk about this later if you want or
Sure, no,
whatever,
it's okay.
but
Talk
I was
about the
just gonna
FFS.
okay, well so like I think everything blew up and then that email came out or whatever and then I found out that the game was done. So it's
That yeah,
because
that was not the
so
same
so
campaign, but it was
but that story real quick I guess since we're on it. Um, one of so I was the dungeon master, or the acronym is DM. Uh, and one of our player one of our players was out, and so I had somebody else running her character for her when we would do like combat and stuff. Otherwise, she just kind of like was a zombie as far as personality goes. But just a sec.
sure.
Need to wet the whistle. I need to like use my diaphragm more. I'm gonna hurt my throat.
Mm.
But no, so she was out and we there was a combat and this one person in our group was a lawyer and he was running her character that night for combat and he said, "I want to try this." And then as often happened in third edition or 3.5, I never played fourth edition, so I don't really know how that went. But
You didn't miss much.
but there, no, that's what I heard, and I never wanted to try it. But I think we moved on to Pathfinder, which was just D&D 3.5 with some slight revisions. But
Well, they
anyways,
called it 3.75 because it was
3.75, okay. But anyways, so combat. The attorney says, I think she was playing like a ranger or some, or yeah,
Yep,
I
she
think,
always
yeah,
I know
she's
what
a
we're talking
ranger.
about. She always played Rangers. Yep.
Okay, so
I know
then
who
she
you're
was a
talking about.
ranger. Okay.
Yep.
Uh, and he said, I want her to do this. And two other people in our group were like, well, that doesn't work that way. And then they started arguing. And I, as the storyteller, the dungeon master, whatever, I was like, I got to bring these people back in here and get the story moving because this fight was it was just it's like a small fight, it
Sure.
was tiny monsters. It wasn't a boss battle. It was just they found some like skeletons that animated or something like that. I don't remember, but it was something like that. And he was upset that I you know uh, about this argument. Finally, I just said I'm going to make a ruling as the dungeon master that that doesn't work. Let's move on. And you know what happened to the group or the party? Nothing happened. They defeated the monsters and everything moved on. And like 3, 5, or 6 whatever games later, the lawyer in our group I guess sent out an email. I don't know. I think he excluded me on it or something because I don't remember getting it or no, or maybe I did get
But
it.
yet it was forwarded to everyone else, including I wasn't even at the
Yeah,
game, and I got the
you
email.
got it.
I
You got it.
it was forwarded to me. Yeah, it was sent to me.
But anyways, so I guess he went back to that insignificant fight, but his whole scenario, his whole story was that as an attorney might think of things, we're setting a precedent here, people. The rules actually, if you go back through the rules, he like validated what he thought how it should work, and I guess maybe it did work that way. I don't remember, but and then the person
The
who was playing
player,
the
the
character,
actual
yeah,
player of the character who was not there.
yeah, she's
She
like I
sent it for fuck's sake. I don't give a.
yeah,
She really
she's
just
like
is like,
this I don't even fucking care.
yeah,
So, but apparently, everybody else got mad and the game ended.
yep.
And I was like, shit, I just gave everybody really cool stuff too. like new abilities and whatever. And
So let's be clear though, that player who was not well, and we'll talk about because that is one of the player types, which
the
is
rule mongers,
rules lawyer,
lawyer. I've heard the rules
rules monger.
monger, whatever.
The thing about it, well, number one, okay, yes, he is was. I mean, I don't even know if the dude's alive anymore. He was a bit older than the rest of us.
Well, he
Um,
was in his 40s, so I don't think he
I thought he
maybe
was older than maybe not,
was
and
he. Maybe he was older than that.
I
I
thought he
don't
was in
know.
his 50s or 60s at that time, which would
Well,
put
okay.
him like 20 or 30 years above us. Anyways, so he was a real lawyer, but he was a real estate lawyer. This is not we're not talking about the
Yeah, okay.
DA. We're not talking
Okay.
about a criminal defense. You know what I mean? He was a real estate lawyer. So let's be clear about that. Number one,
Well,
not to put
I
him
don't
down.
know if that makes a difference as far as like how lawyers
Well,
think. Maybe it does in terms of a case,
he's
but I don't
no
know.
he wouldn't have been on Law and Order. Let's just say that. He was not the guy
Oh,
to be on Law and Order. Number one. Number two, okay, so like rules lawyers, like what does it all come down to, right? You can grab so this is the worst part about it, right? And this is like what we always talk about in Dungeons and Dragons, which is this. The first rule, well, okay, the
mm,
rule 0, number 1 is everyone should be having fun. If you're not having fun, what's the point of the game? Number 2, though, the other rule is the dungeon master can adjust any rule at any time,
mm,
not to give them like power beyond, you know what I mean? It's not about, because that's the
yeah.
thing. If you're a dungeon master who's crazy about controlling everything, you're not going to have very many players. Your players are going to drop off because they're not going to like that either. But the dungeon master can adjust any rule at any time for any reason. But it should be, the reason behind that, though, is to keep the fun in the game going. So, like what you
Yeah.
were saying, Tom, it actually doesn't matter at all
Mm,
whether he was right or wrong about going back to finding the rule. The fact of the matter is, he was slowing up everyone. No one was having fun. And you, Tom, you made a call as the dungeon master. And that ultimately is, that's rule number 1, which is the dungeon master is always right. The dungeon master can change or adjust things
mm,
however they want, though it's not recommended to do to the extremes because, again, if everyone hates the game, they're not. I mean, you're not going to have any players pretty soon, which means you don't have a game at all.
mm,
But rule number 0 is everyone should have fun, and we have a few friends who understand that pretty well. You know what? The dungeon master is there to entertain everyone. I mean, let's look at what's his name? The critical role guy, Matt Mercer. Is that his name? Matt Mercer.
yeah.
He's
I'm not familiar with
he's
him.
the
No.
voice actor, but he goes over it like 100 times. He is there to entertain the group. He
Mm,
is there. You know, it's not his role to push everyone down and do whatever. And that's not why Critical Role is a YouTube channel that has mostly voice actor, like some famous people, all play in this group. But Matt Mercer, I don't think that's his real name, but that's the name he goes by. He's the dungeon master, and that's like his thing. Like he is very into the characters. He does know the rules inside and out, but he doesn't like abuse them, and that's like the thing. So I can think that does cover our first
mm,
character or player personality, which is rules lawyer. But that's like it's like you know what it is? It's like any bureaucrat. Any kind of bureaucracy, it's the power of saying no. It's being able to,
mm.
which can be good, it can be bad. But
There is this thing called that I'm sure you've heard of called the spirit of the law.
oh yeah,
It's
of
like,
course.
what was this law intended to achieve or protect, whatever, and using it in this case that whatever we're prosecuting or looking at real estate, maybe a real estate thing, whatever, who cares? Uh, but it's like, are we trying to apply this law in the way it was intended to be used? And I think that's kind of a friend of ours who we both he's been a DM and a player character, whatever, and in a lot of games that we've both played in, including Star Wars and other games. But he said I can't remember if this is part of the same story. I might be meshing two stories together that he told me, but he said that when he first got into like D&D, his parents were concerned. I think they were religious, and he ended up talking to his pastor about it. And he said basically all it is it's just a fantasy story, with like maybe monsters or demons or whatever. But you all you do you just have it's not witchcraft, like because in the 80s there were a lot of scares that D&D Dungeons and Dragons might be uh, um, corrupting our kids and making them want to like murder babies or sacrifice babies and incest and all this kind of stuff and whatever. Um, and which was of course BS, but that was still kind of a thing back in like the 90s and even into the 2000s. I don't know if it really lasted much beyond that, but he said basically all it is you get a group of people together. One of them has a story, and then everybody else gets to participate in the story. Um, and then the rules thing, which I think was actually technically a separate story. Sorry, I've had this and a few other drinks.
Oh, I can only imagine,
But
Tom.
but the same person told me that like the rules aren't there to like restrict what people can do. They're there to kind of help the storyteller um, guide the story. And then they have the option of overriding some of those rules if it makes sense for whatever the situation was. Which is what I did when I said the real estate attorney guy couldn't do whatever with that other character because it was stopping the story, it was stopping the fun.
Exactly. I mean, like they said, the rules are not a straitjacket. They're not there
No.
to. They're there to guide you and help, like maybe settle some things. But the thing is, you're often going to come into situations where you got to make a decision, and there
Hmm.
has to be someone to make it. And again, the dungeon master should not, be some controlling,
No.
whatever. They're
Uh,
there to like help make everyone have fun, not exact. I mean, and I think that's what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah, that's basically it, I think. But
I mean, what
yeah,
other? And let's think about
I,
it
I,
though. So we got rules lawyers. We got
I,
what else
I
we
don't
got?
know if this is too generic, but the friend that I'm thinking of, he's a great storyteller, and I think that this kind of a game like Dungeons and Dragons invites that kind of a person, somebody who wants to be able to tell stories and share them with people, and maybe share the experience in creating the story with them. But
And what else do we have? I mean, okay, so let's go
well,
opposite
okay.
here. What about the
Well, there
person
are.
who doesn't what about the person who doesn't say or do much of anything but can sit there and is enjoying. I mean, that they
Yeah,
exist. I know that
yeah,
we've met a few people who, they don't get too into the
kind of like you, right? I'm kidding.
let's be honest here.
Yeah,
let's not make up lies here about me. No, I
that's
mean,
not. Let's be honest. Mike is the opposite of that.
I like. Don't get me wrong. if a DM directs me down or tells me, we're not doing whatever, I totally listen. I totally go along with that. But at the same time, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I like to.
Well,
I get involved, I get involved in the
well,
game. I like the
I mean,
vibe.
if the DMs, I will say this for you, Mike. Uh, uh, Sometimes I think the alcohol might make you drag it on a little bit longer than I would like, but no, like if the storyteller, dungeon master, whatever, or game master as they're called in other
The
games,
various
uh, they
names.
if whatever because we play way more than D&D
Yes,
together.
if everyone
So
outside of this does not is not aware, yeah, Tom and I play at least a weekly game, and it's sometimes more involved than just weekly. But
yeah, so yeah, a lot of messages going back and
I
forth,
mean, yeah,
but
it's a lot sometimes.
let me see. I think I might have lost my point. Just a minute. What were we talking about? Refresh
um,
my memory.
how awesome I
Uh,
am as a player. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
What I was gonna say. So we were talking about disagree. You specifically disagreeing with the dungeon master or game master or whatever they're called. And you will make an argument that uh, and then you're better than I am at this. You understand a lot of the rules and such of the games that we play. Me, I need to have some of it spoon fed to me, whatever. But which is why I like the new D&D Fifth Edition. Is they also have the D&D Beyond website, which you can build your character on there, and then your character sheet you just click on whatever, and it tells you what it does.
Just to be clear,
But
not a sponsor. Not a sponsor
no, oh no
yet.
no no no, not a sponsor. Sorry.
Not a.
Sorry,
We can't.
that was a that we're not no. But if you do like this video and use this promo code below, you
If
can get a
if
discount
if
on
we,
D&D Beyond.
yeah, if we
No, I'm
had a
kidding. I'm
promo
kidding.
code and there's no discount.
But no, but what I was trying to say though was that you will make an argument with the DM that is rational, uh, based on the rules and our understanding of them and such. And sometimes the game master, dungeon master might um uh, have a different understanding of the rule, and
Or shoot me down, which is fine.
or I mean, eventually something's got to happen, right? You either got to give in or shoot you down. So.
Exactly.
But you have I think many times um, convinced the storyteller of your point. So,
I'm just a really convincing guy
but it's funny when you
who's
keep
not a lawyer.
going.
Who's not a
It's funny
lawyer.
when you. It's just funny when you keep going, and you're like,
It
but really though,
depends on who it is, but yeah, I mean,
depends on how many of the Stellas you've had that night.
well,
Which, by the way, you might have to cover for me here in a minute because I didn't bring a second one into my
oh,
office.
let's hop ahead here. I mean, we've kind of discussed some of our D&D experiences here. Honestly, we could go on for hours probably about this topic, and we will probably bring it up again and maybe hit a different point um on this. But Mike's apartment is very much about the rating. So, 5, it's ambrosia. It's perfect. 0, it's shit. It's not good. Where do we, Tom? You go first because
Well,
I've had it before. Where do you rate Stella between
I
0 and
don't know.
5?
I don't know how long we've been filming for at the moment, but I've almost finished this, and I have yet to finish a drink besides the fireballs. I think during a video. So I think with some of the previous what did I give Blue Moon? I think did I give that a 4?
I
I think I
unfortunately have not recorded what we our previous ratings.
I I mean
I
I'll
mean,
have to go back
except
and
for on the
watch the
video.
video, but
Yeah,
I think I might give this a 4
4.
because
Okay.
I was able to finish it before it's even warm. So
Piss warm.
bottoms up. Oh yeah, have you ever had warm beer? That's nasty.
Usually, I'm gonna go about the same. I'm gonna say 4 also. Like I said, this is not my first time having Stella Artois, but I mean, is it good? Yes. Is it something like you're gonna go to like your friend's house, your neighbor's house, your family's house? Are you gonna have some? Yes. Um, if you leave it at their house, are they gonna drink it? Probably yes. It's good. It's above average, definitely. Obviously above average. It's I mean, it's hard exactly to. It's like let's call it this. It's a beer's beer. It's
Hmm.
it's a it's. I love there. Are many domestic beers that I love too. Just as much. I mean, there are some that I love just as much as Stella. And Stella is more expensive, and we can, unfortunately, for I'm not going to go all political, but with the tariffs, it's probably going to go more expensive because it is an import. But is it worth it? I mean, yeah. I mean, I would definitely. This is something I can enjoy all night, and I probably will continue to do so. But it's just one of those things. It's a taste thing, and I know Tom, you're not like super, you're not a super beer person, but
No, but I mean,
but
I
you like it.
finished it.
But you like,
I
yeah, you
finished it.
finished it
Yeah.
and you enjoy it. Yeah, I mean that's the important part, I would say. So yeah, we're definitely there. So that's kind of where we're at for Mike's apartment. We will we're gonna continue here. We probably won't go any more about the personalities. I mean, really, the fun ones are that, the rules lawyer, the controlling player, or the
Hmm.
jock that becomes super into it. I mean, I think
Hmm.
that story's a little, well, it's a little,
I
it's
like that story though. I mean,
yeah.
I'm anxious to find out who it was.
Oh, I will definitely tell you later. But yeah, we don't really do names a lot on here on Mike's. Well, outside of
No,
my name and
I
Tom's
mean,
name, but yeah, I'll tell
and
you who it was. I'll tell you who it
if you
was.
don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons and you want a fun introduction to it, um, and this is not another sponsor thing either, but I do recommend the show Stranger Things on Netflix, or if you can get it a different way. But it's a because like the kids are all like the main characters. They play Dungeons and Dragons together, and then there's like a monster of the season or whatever for 4 seasons, and they name the monsters after things in Dungeons and Dragons. They really incorporate the game into the show in some fun ways.
However,
But
there's a major issue between the game and the show.
well, I
They
mean, it's
use they use Fireball on Demogorgon.
oh
Demogorgon is immune to
yeah.
fire damage. So
Okay, I
in
didn't
a
know that.
real
I
in
didn't
a
know
real
that.
game, in a real game, Demogorgon would not be killed by a fireball. That's all
But they
Stranger Things.
but Mike, each season like the monster had to like escalate in power, right? So they couldn't start with Vecna.
I mean, anyways, we could talk about Cass. We could talk about Vecna all night. I mean, honestly,
All right.
we,
Yeah,
we, we,
right.
we could go on and on about it. All I'm going to say is this: Stella, love it,
Yes.
try it, do it. I mean,
And we're not sponsored by Stella.
no, no, we're not. We're actually not sponsored by anyone, but
Wait. Well, let's talk later about that.
yeah, we
Uh,
yeah.
no,
Yeah,
I'm
we, we,
kidding.
we hope to be at some point, but no, we're just these are just honest opinions, just what we think. Um, any closing thoughts, Tom? Anything else you want to discuss at this point?
Oh, I think I'm getting tired here, or maybe it's the alcohol. I don't know.
I hear you.
But I'm starting to fade a little bit. So it's been fun. It's
Yep,
been it's been a lot of fun
it's
tonight.
been it's been great. We will talk to everyone later. This has been Mike's apartment.